All right.
Okay, I guess we can start.
We need to start.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from where everyone else is tuning from. Welcome to our second HQ Activator panel, and today we'll be exploring inside the Activator program. So my name is Desnor Chigumba. I am one of the co-managing directors for Nucleate in Michigan, and I also I'm on the HQ Activator team, helping all of the chapters with all the logistics and putting together a successful activator program. And Rachel, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Rath. I'm the director of the BARDA Alliance for Johnson & Johnson Innovation JLABS. I work at our JLABS incubators, and I run a program called Blue Knight that is a public-private partnership between JLABS, which is the incubator arm of Johnson & Johnson, and BARDA in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And I'm joining the panel today because I've been a mentor for the Nucleate Activator program for a few years now.
Thank you. You're welcome, Rachel. Julia, sorry.
That's fine. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and really thankful for Desnor and Ryan putting together this panel. Nice to be everyone who's here. I'm one of the founding member of New York chapter, Nucleate. And we grew. This is the third year we run New York. After leading as co-MD last year, I decided to join Nucleate full-time just this month as Global Director of Activator Operations. So really excited to put in a lot of new standardized processes and support our community further, and especially in the global chapters. Nice to meet everybody and excited to chat with our panelists.
Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve Grant. I've been in the bioprocessing industry for 33 years, mostly on the mammalian culture side. In the past 15 years, I've been doing a lot of work with startups in that particular area, mostly in sensors and sensor development and AI. I'm currently the CEO of a small startup out of Davis, California called PHixed, PHixed, and we do AI for we make AI programs for sensor failure, for detecting sensor failure in bioprocessing runs. I also am an investor in a couple of the companies that have spun out of Nucleate. And in addition to that, I have been just recently put on the board of directors for Dot Ventures, which is formed out of from the royal family out of Saudi Arabia to head up their U.S. That help them in the U.S. and build their biotech pharma business here.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess that's a big example of how our mentors start getting involved with our activator teams. And then I want to introduce some of our activator participants. Zoe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So I just finished the UK Activator, the first year of the UK Activator as an eco team, and I'm now a co-founder full-time of the company that came out of the UK Activator called ChangeBio. We're really excited. We basically take methane, waste methane, and turn it into useful things. And prior to that, I was at Oxford. I did a master's of public policy and an MBA. And my career background, very much on the commercial side in consulting and a lot in sort of high-level economic research and policy.
Awesome. Finally, Paloma, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Desnor. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Paloma Gonzalez-Rojas, and I am the CEO of Atacama Biomaterials. And we went through the Nucleate Activator in Boston last year, and we won the Eco Track. So we're really proud of that because it really started the flight for Atacama Biomaterials. So we're very thankful for that. And I did a PhD at MIT in machine learning, and also a postdoc in chemical engineering. And this is really useful for Atacama. And I imagine that lots of the potential participants will have similar backgrounds. So I'm excited to hear about them.
Thank you so much, Paloma. So to kickstart off the conversation, I wanted to ask the activator participants, can you guys speak about, the process of you guys applying for the Activator program and your experience throughout.
So Zoe can start.
Sure. So I applied through the MBA track, not through the technical track. So I can speak to that experience. And I did that because I knew coming out of my degree, I wanted to work in the climate space. I wanted to work on sort of innovative technologies in the climate space. And when I heard about Nucleate and the opportunity to meet people that were, working on research like right at the ground level and coming up with the most exciting ideas for how we can tackle the climate crisis, I thought, yeah, I got to meet these folks. And I was very specific on my Activator application. I said, anyone working on climate, particularly with an agriculture bent, that's where I'm really excited. I'd love to meet them. And I showed up the first networking event, and there were teams working on that, and I thought that was amazing. And so I wouldn't have met my co-founders without Nucleate. So I am so grateful for it, and especially for the eco track, which was exactly down my alley. So I knew that I kind of had the commercial skills and had been in the entrepreneurship space before, and wanted to sort of apply that now to a new realm of climate. And so was looking to see where my sort of commercial skills could be a fit for a technical team.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for that. Paloma, what was your experience?
Well, my experience is from the other side, from the technology side. And part of it was to meet people like Zoe, like the MBA side that was interested in biotech. And also like in our path in Atacama, we have been through a couple of incubators at MIT and Harvard. And it was important for us to go through Nucleate because of the biotech, climate tech path. So it is when we're building a company in this space, the milestones, the times, the funding are a little different. And so then this was particularly important for us to get to participate in this program. And the application is super demanding, so so that was hard work. And when we heard that we were accepted, we were really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. And I guess following up on that, once you guys got accepted and you were part of the semi-finalist team, well, the finalist teams, what was like your experience working with the team and also doing some of the workshops? I guess so you started us off.
Yeah, it was super valuable for us because so there's 4 co-founders, myself, another MBA from Cambridge, so Oxford and Cambridge have come together, and then 2 marvelous technical co-founders, one from Imperial, one from Nottingham, and like we're all either working full-time or in school full-time, and so having Nucleate in the Activator program to sort of keep us on track and keep us moving forward was amazing. And it meant that we were really sort of developing our ability to work as a team and also as our idea over the course of the year. And then honestly, the biggest thing for us was actually the venture prize, which we were very fortunate to win. And that meant that we could all graduate and start full-time and start working on the company, which has been transformative for us. So it was huge.
That's awesome. What about you, Paloma?
In our case, it was really interesting to go through the workshops with our MBA partner, and because my co-founder and I come from the engineering side, and well, other engineers that we know say that learning the business is getting like another PhD, and it certainly feels like that because it's another world. And for example, our MBA said that we need to find the beachhead market based on evidence, and we need to hear what customers want. And it's collecting evidence, collecting data, but with a different perspective. And so that was really interesting for us. And also like having these sessions with the advisors that were 1 hour length, it was incredible because then we could test our ideas and get like super tailored feedback for us. So that was also super interesting from the workshops.
Thank you for that, Paloma. I want to switch gear and ask Steve and Rachel a little bit question, especially right after Paloma said learning business knowledge can feel like this is another PhD. So what's your experience, Steve and Rachel, with mentoring our activator teams? Did you feel like you built strong relationship, and what kind of advice were you able to provide those first-time founders?
Ladies before gentlemen. Rachel, you go.
All right, Steve, but we can switch on the next one.
Yes. Okay.
So it's so I've mentored with Nucleate for 2 years now and for 3 different teams. So I have experience mentoring both with the Nucleate Baltimore chapter 2 years in a row, as well as last year mentoring for the Nucleate Global team. And I would say each team you build a relationship with is a little bit different. And some of that has to do with the team. And Zoe, I think you actually said it really well, right? You had time to build a team. And truthfully, I think you can see that as a mentor. I kind of always thought in college, maybe professors couldn't really tell if you had done your homework or not. And I think through the mentorship experience at Nucleate, you really can tell who's doing the work. And so some of it has to do with the teams, but I've stayed in touch with all of the teams that I've mentored. One of them I'm meeting with next week. I'm based at our incubator in Washington, D.C., which is one of the reasons why I mentored for Nucleate Baltimore. So both of the teams that I mentored have come on site here to our events, been able to benefit from our programming as well. And I think as a mentor, some is being a sounding board, letting people test out the ideas. I worked with each of the teams to set sort of a cadence that worked for us. I think it works well. Nucleate does a great job building programming. And so some of how we would build our recurring meeting topics was around what those programs were, right? Covering a little bit of what they were going to get in programming next week, and then even debriefing from that the following week as well. Each of the technologies I mentored were in pretty different areas. I'm not the technical person, I'm the business person. So I have an MBA, not a PhD. And I think it's really important for mentors too to know our limits and where we are not the expert to give you
input. I like your last point there, Rachel. I'm the same. I'm, business from the business side, investor. I've, been president, GM, of large company, business development teams, sales and marketing. So I come at this from a business perspective, and one of the things that I find in working with, I started off, 3 years ago with the Boston chapter of Nucleate, and now as Ryan, had introduced us, I'm working with, last year I worked with 7 different chapters in the U.S. And that's 7 different teams. It was a lot of fun, and it's always the same thing. It's Rachel, as Rachel said, I don't have a PhD, but from the business side, that's where my strengths are. And, a lot of times I find that, the teams have great technologies, and then they hit this brick wall trying to get it, what's the business end of it? How do we get it out there? How do we build, brand? How do we make this work? And how do we get it into companies and, let people know about it? So that's my area of expertise. And, I've been working with Nucleate for 3 years. It's been an absolute, just a blast doing it. And, I spend a lot of time with the volunteer side of it. I like it. It's a passion of mine. I love to see the groups that are coming out, the technology that's coming out. And as I always tell each team that I've worked with, I learn as much from you guys as you learn from me. And that's rewarding on both ends. A lot of them don't think that way. They think, oh God, we're going to learn so much, but it does flip around where the mentor learns just as much from the other side. So that's the part that's really exciting for me too.
That's great to hear. And then how did you know my next question was actually, I wanted to know, Rachel and Steve, can you elaborate a little more how mentoring academic trainees and young business students at such early stage of a startup formation, how does that have benefit you guys in your work or career development?
So I go first this time, Rachel?
You go first this time, yeah, exactly.
Listen, I think it's incredibly, it gives me more knowledge into the industry and the new technology. I mean, I wish these programs were around 15, 20 years ago. because I think this industry would be in a totally different place, much more advanced, you know, than it is today, even though it is very advanced. But you know, having the knowledge spread across, you know, different people from mentors to students and, you know, budding entrepreneurs, postdocs, things like that. You know, it's a huge advantage for the industry, not just for the individuals, but for the industry itself. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, I like to focus on, and I like to kind of let the teams know that this is, you know, this is something that benefits everybody, you know, not just the team or the mentor, but the industry in itself. And I think, you know, as we progress with Nucleate and these other types of programs like NSFI Core and everything else, I think this industry is going to become just a powerhouse going forward in the next, you know, 10 to 15 years. And the technologies are fantastic. So, you know, that's my take on it. I think it's important to, you know, from my perspective, I'm learning as much, and I'm learning about new technology that helps me be better at my job and help others, you know, whether they be companies by being on an advisory board or investing in a company.
Great.
Yeah, that. Oh, sorry. You can go, Rachel. Sorry.
Yeah. So to build off that, so I work at JLABS, which is the no strings attached incubator network for Johnson & Johnson. So we look at supporting early stage companies really wherever they are in the world. So the program that I run, I have a portfolio of early stage companies based all over the world, Australia, across North America, across Europe, in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia as well. And so we are constantly looking for early stage companies to come into our portfolio. We're a no strings attached model, but we're hoping to bring in and support and build relationships with early stage companies that are on strategy to Johnson & Johnson that may progress to a deal over the course of incubation after they graduate. So Nucleate, I actually became aware of Nucleate because one of the companies in my portfolio is a Nucleate alumni from the first year of Nucleate. And so through that company, I was sort of like, oh, what is this Nucleate program? As Nucleate started to expand around the world. And what that CEO told me was that one of the biggest challenges he faced when he graduated out of Nucleate was, okay, I have this company, now where do I put it, right? Where do I, and now I've graduated, now I want to spin out from the university, where do I go? And the answer for him was to come to JLABS and set up his company here, where we have the R&D space. So frankly, for me, I'm always looking for new companies that we may build longer term relationships with after they've graduated out of Nucleate, particularly as companies go on and get their first non-dilutive funding, are looking at those SBIRs, for example, in the US, they're often looking to bring some of that R&D outside of academia and into an incubator, for example. And so that's one way that it's great in a very tangible way for me. But as Steve was saying, we're also learning so much from these innovators and entrepreneurs that it's just an exciting way to learn about what may be coming up. And the other perspective that I take as well is this is an incredible environment filled with people who are excited about entrepreneurship and working at startups. So whether you choose to go full-time or have that opportunity into your startup, you're probably someone who's going to go on and work at another startup down the line. And so I want to know you because maybe that next company is really going to be a great opportunity for us to collaborate.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially about what to get out of the activator program. I really want to stress for people who are interested in participating that, you know, you're not bound to officially spin the company out of this experience. It might just be, you know, a great learning curve, you know, to figure out if the entrepreneurship route and what it really looks like to be at that very early stage startup and being part of a team like that. And of course, from our alumni, several people have then gone on to get other jobs, like Rachel mentioned. And you never know, might not even be an immediate, in 2 years' time, you know, you're someone that Steve can invest in. It really can be at some point down the road, your paths will cross again. So don't take that for granted about how, you know, embarking on a journey like this can be something that's incredibly valuable for your career, even with meeting different experts or forming relationship with the mentors. I wanted to ask the activator teams, especially about, you know, like you mentioned, Zoe, the application is very demanding. And we do have a comprehensive curriculum that is going to run all the way through about January, February through the beginning of the end of spring. I wanted to ask you guys, like, as you have, you know, these teams, the co-founders that are made up of like 3 to 4 people, how did you guys manage the workload for the workshops? You know, did you kind of decide on like a certain time that you do the pre-work together? And, you know, like managing, meeting with experts and mentors, and did you show up to all the workshops together, or, you know, dividing that kind of workload?
Do you want to go first, Paloma?
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay, in our case, it was easy because we were working with someone from Harvard, so MIT and Harvard are super close. And we took the advantage of that and started meeting in person. It was like when everything was opening up. So we met here or there. And so we used to prepare for like the workshops at the beginning of the week, and then all of our workshops were like Thursday or Friday. And I guess that something that was interesting for us was to like all of us participate in everything. And because we wanted to have like this crossover from the technology to the business side, so then then we did everything together, and then like split some parts of the assignments, like for example the techno-economic analysis and so on. We did it as a team, because we both wanted to learn from each other.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we, it sounds like in contrast, did all our workshops remotely. So all of our workshops were online, which actually worked really well for us. We're a remote team. We're in different parts of the UK and sometimes the world. So we all joined the workshops though, and we all went to every one just because we felt like it was a really good opportunity as a team to be together. And then we always had dedicated time afterwards to debrief. And then we also sort of split up the work as we for each week, depending on, you know, someone's area of expertise. If, you know, if the workshop was presenting, you know, sort of the details behind our tech, that wasn't going to be me. Though slowly but surely, I was laughing when Paloma was saying, you know, learning business is like getting another PhD. My dream is to eventually get an honorary, you know, science degree out of all of this. For me, learning about the tech, it's one of my favorite parts. But versus if it was going to be, you know, here's your first financial model, or, you know, that's going to be probably more on the commercial side. So perhaps myself or the other commercial co-founder. So we would split up the work, but we also had team meetings sort of outside of Nucleate, where we would meet and push things forward. And there's a lot of like nuts and bolts to setting up the company that we needed to make sure that we were working on. You know, let me tell you that like getting incorporated and getting a bank account and all of those things, like they take a lot of time. And so also just making sure we're moving those things forward. So it was basically, yeah, divide, conquer, but go to all the workshops. And then the UK Activator was very kind to sort of host these occasional in-person events, which was a really nice opportunity for us to get together, see each other in person, and we took advantage of those.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, you mentioned something really interesting. So talking about incorporation and you guys becoming co-founders, I wanted to know from you both, did you all, like the people you met during the Activator program, are they now your official co-founders for the company? Are there any people that ended up dropping off? And how did you navigate those conversations? Because, you know, we like to stress that we do not enforce co-founder relationships, right? So if someone is the person who has the technology, they come through the Activator program, but they're not necessarily interested in, you know, going to the incorporation and going the long run with the people that they participated in the Activator. We don't want to hurt feelings, but, you know, it's not up to us to enforce those relationships. So I wanted to know from you both, how did you navigate those conversations and, you know, the different circumstances that you were in and, you know, moving past the Activator program? Paloma, you may start, because I get lots.
Thank you. Yeah. In our case, our our business person had a personal emergency, and she had to drop the program in the middle of Nucleate, in the middle of the semester, which was completely unexpected. And so she had to leave because of this family emergency. So the program was really kind to let us stay anyway, and we had a good result. So at the end, we won the eco track, but what we did was to continue to take advantage of other benefits from the program, such as, for example, we got like a really good agreement with Wilson Sonsini, so they help with the incorporation that Zoe mentioned, or they help with other parts of building a company, and also we continue working with the advisors. So, and after that, we continue the relationship with one relationship with someone that chose to be in another startup. So an MBA from Harvard that chose to be in another startup, but now is our consultant. So it's like we had a different situation, like unexpected, but I can imagine that it worked differently for other teams.
Yeah, I would say I saw such a range. And I actually don't know if there's any other folks that went through our year of the accelerator that like met in the accelerator and left as a team. And we started as a team from the beginning, and then all four of us are a team now. So that's been really, really exciting. And I think part of it is just knowing what you want to get out of it. And so I went in very specifically saying, I have room and I have the ability to work on a startup if a startup were to come out of this. And I know that I want it to be in this space. And I know that the startup would need to be at this particular stage for me to be helpful. And so I chatted to other technical teams, for example, that had 3 years left of sort of like lab proof of concepts before they were thinking about commercial traction and validation. And as much as I would love to get in the lab and pipette things, that's not going to be where I'm particularly useful to anybody. So, we're not a good fit. That's okay. I'm going to enjoy learning about what you're working on. So I think I was very clear about how I could be helpful and what I was excited about. And I was very lucky to meet folks that was a really good fit for. And I think us just having those conversations up front was really important, versus I saw other people that sort of work with startups exactly as Paloma saying, more on a consultancy basis or to learn about the technology, or it's what works for you, or folks that went through without necessarily picking up someone on the commercial side, because they have co-founders with that experience. And so we also really gave ourselves the time in the Nucleate program to work together and learn about each other. And I think that was really special. And the people that you work with, I think, are the most important part. So getting the chance to meet such exciting people was amazing.
Well, that's awesome, especially the part about, our deadline for applications for the US-based chapters will be, and I think the UK as well, is this Friday, the 27th. Just a reminder to everyone who has an incomplete application right now. And shortly after that, we'll be starting our team formation events. And I think, Zoe, you bring up a good point in those conversations when people are, meeting with the different potential co-founders, having those upfront conversations, right? Like, these are the expectations. This is what I'm hoping to get out of it. And then, kind of setting the tone of how you would want to work with someone, right? Having upfront conversations and pretty clear on expectations. I wanted to hear from the mentors about, some advice for the different activator participants. What are the ways that they can kind of make the most out of the mentorship relationship? Like, how should they approach you, or how should they really handle that relationship that, or if they're a mentor, how to set those expectations for the activator teams?
Your turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's my turn now. So I think I would have two main pieces of advice that are in slightly different areas, maybe one to the scientific team and one to the business side here. But I'd argue you're all one team. And I think, props to the teams we're hearing from today that really spent the time to figure out how to work as a team. So the first thing I would say is, as you're thinking about the technology, forming the team, looking at where you may want to progress it to, you can get really excited about the technology, but focus on the problem that you're trying to solve. What your mentors, what potential investors, what we're going to be looking for in the ecosystem is about the solution to a problem. So your technology can be the most incredible thing coming out of a lab, but if it's not solving a real problem, then it's probably not going to be progressing. And so focus not on the tech itself, but focus on the problem you're trying to solve. I've seen teams that have, pivoted either during the program or after as well, and that's really exciting. So I would say focus on the problem you're trying to solve, and it may not be the problem you're starting with. You may end up with a different problem you're trying to solve, but focus on the problem. The second, more about how to engage with mentors, is really be a team that is easy to work with. And some of those are really basic things that you may think you're doing already, but schedule meetings in advance, send calendar invites, show up to those meetings, send an agenda, send questions in advance, because if you can help us prepare for those calls, we're going to be more helpful to you. And also understand that you do have to build trust with your mentor before we're sort of going to turn over our Rolodex and start making introductions for you as well. So put in the time, show up like the professionals that you are, even when you start getting stretched in a million different directions through all the competing demands of the program. Really be the team that shows up for your mentor and make it easy for your mentor to help you. Steve?
I like your first point. Very, very good, Rachel. I mean, one of the things that you do have to have as a team with a technology is, and I've seen this happen so many times, where you think the technology is going to be great, but you haven't gone out and actually talked to people about what they think about it, and if it's going to be a worthwhile cause. I've seen companies that have spent 7, 8, 9, 10 years trying to bring a product to market, but the reason it's not being successful is because they thought it was great in the lab and never did any of the back end work, beforehand to see if it was something that could be used, and could be sold, could be, revenue generating. I've been through 8 different NSF I-Core cohorts. They're 8-week. The national ones are 8 weeks. And one of the things they do, and I think it's hugely important, it's overwhelming when you first hear it, but once you start, is doing 100 potential customer interviews for your technology. And that leads into your B-check. Is this something that people are going to use? So many times in so many different groups that I've been mentoring, that's been lacking. And once they start to do that, it generates more ideas. And Rachel made a good point. Some groups pivot completely and go a whole different way because of talking and kind of doing that back end research to see if this is something that is going to fix a problem, or is it just going to be like a Me Too product, so that's really important. And then yes, as a mentor, I like to see teams come with questions in advance, so it gives me something to think about, so I can give them the correct direction or answers. I don't want to waste their time, and I want to make sure that I give them the full attention, everything that I can possibly bring to the table for them to help them be successful. So as a team, as a mentor, a team relationship, having the team come prepared, show up for meetings on time. And listen, I get it, things come up, classes come up, something happens. I don't mind that you have to reschedule, but don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till like 5 minutes before the meeting and then say, oh, I can't make it. Think about it ahead of time. Days that may work for you, hours. I always tell my teams, I'll do stuff at 9 or 10 o'clock at night if you want to do it. I don't mind, as long as I can help you guys out. So yeah, that's really important. Having everybody show up on time, having people be prepared, and the reputation of your mentors is, it takes a long time to build a good reputation. So, we have to feel comfortable, like you said, and trust in the team, and the team has to trust in us, before we start, making connections because it's our reputation as, you know, being in the industry. You know, you guys have, I have a lot of years on y'all, but you know, even though I still think I'm like 30, it's the same thing. You gotta have that trust relationship and mutual benefits for both sides.
Yeah, those are really important points, especially because, you know, our mentors are seasoned industry professionals. And again, I want to stress that you guys are doing it for free, and it's an incredible resource, and we really appreciate it. And of course, it's also the leadership team in whatever region you're applying for is working really hard to get these relationships going. So it's in everyone's best interest to really show up as your best self, especially if you're planning to start a company. I had a follow-up question about that. Steve, you mentioned that, you know, you've invested in some of the Activator alumni, and also, you know, Rachel navigating those relationships with some of those Activator participants. Can you speak about, for example, you know, setting those expectations or navigating that conversation where you as mentors then makes it like introductions with your networks or getting to a point of investing? We like to stress as well that the mentors are not mandated to invest in the company. This is an introduction to a relationship. Really the most, the basic minimum that we can offer is the guidance, right? That you guys will give feedback on the team and, you know, the way that they're handling things and their full business plan. How should teams or navigate those conversations where they're now asking you to extend to your network or to make a personal investment? Is that something that you do during the Activator program or afterwards? And how do you set those expectations for that mentor and team relationship?
That is a great question. I've never been asked as a mentor to invest in a company. I see, you know, I look at the things like, is there a need for this? You know, does it solve a problem? You know, it's kind of a feel for me, you know, if being in business for as long as I have and working with big companies and small startups, you get a feel for the direction, the expertise, the knowledge of the people that have developed the technology and that want to bring it and start a company and bring revenue in. And, you know, there's just a feeling that I get where you say, wow, all the pieces are in place. I want to be part of this. You know, I'll give you X amount of dollars, you know, to get this thing off the ground. And, you know, I wish there's a formula. I mean, you can go to business school, Harvard Business School, any business school, and there's all different kinds of books you can read about it. But to me, it's, you know, it's a feel. It's, you know, seeing all those pieces of the puzzle in place and saying, okay, these guys know what they're doing. This is going to be successful. You know, and I haven't been wrong yet. And, you know, so there's got to be something to that, even though it's not, you know, it doesn't come out of a, you know, MBA program. You know, there's a feel about it. You know, if you see all the pieces in place, you see their, you know, efforts on the technology, they're fixing a problem. They're not a Me Too product. You know, it tends to really resonate and say, wow, this is going to be a winner. This is a home run for this technology. And, you know, those are, it's not scientific by any way, shape, or form for me. It's just having learned what I've learned from business over the years and looking at companies and how they've failed, you know, how startups have failed and what they did wrong, and kind of putting that into, you know, my own puzzle and seeing that these pieces match up, or is this not going to work? So, you know, that's how I do it.
I think from my perspective, there's sort of different thresholds. So same with Steve. I've never been asked, you know, directly, will you invest in a company? I work for an incubator. Also, I don't work for a VC directly. We have a strategic venture arm as part of Johnson & Johnson. I work for the incubator side. But I do expect companies to be progressing and make progress. And when they may get to certain points, we may have a conversation of, okay, when you've hit this point, then, you know, then let's revisit maybe who you should be talking to. Sometimes it's saying, you know, you're really early to get meetings with all of these investors, but here's a conference where they're all going to be showing up at, right? Go make yourself available there. And so it's almost mentoring around, like, what are the places you need to be showing up at? And if I'm there as well, I'm happy to sort of take that company and go make some introductions in person at a little bit of a lower risk environment where everyone is there to network, everyone's there to meet people. I do think, I have close relationships with VCs, with investors, and part of what we do is flag companies for each other, right? And so I won't make a cold introduction between a company and an investor. I will take a non-confidential deck to a company from a company that I think may be of interest to an investor and ask them if they'd like an introduction to the company, for example. And so some is setting expectations with the company. With the companies, I'm really transparent with all of the teams that I mentor that, I'm not going to just be making investor connections for you. That's not the goal of the program. It's thinking about how to navigate the ecosystem, how to get to next inflection points, and what are those inflection points that may get you ready for different opportunities.
Yeah, and Rachel, interesting enough, I've never had a scenario where a team has said, hey, can you introduce us to? It's always been, again, going back to that, like you said, you have to find that time when they're ready. If you feel ready, if they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, then, I always offer, hey, you guys are getting ready to do, some type of manufacturing. Let me introduce you to this person who is specialized in this type of stuff, whether it be a medical device or, pre-filled, injection type thing. I've never had anybody ask. I've always volunteered it, and it's turned out quite well.
I got a list of dozens of firms from a company that they wanted introductions to, and part of this experience is, how do you navigate that, right? And how should companies be navigating? Because frankly, if your list of prioritized VCs is dozens long, then let's have a conversation about how you're prioritizing who you want to be meeting with and where you're showing up. And so from my perspective, all of these are great points to have a really interesting conversation that may help the company be successful.
I love you guys touch on this point that mentorship is important, but we're not hand-holding here for every step of the way. You're teaching them how to fish instead of just giving them the fish. I love that you're doing that for the teams, Rachel and Steve. And I want to go back to Zoe and Paloma a little bit, and also because Kyle asked a great question in the Q&A, and I encourage people to continue to ask questions. It's on the point I want to touch as well. How much commitment did you guys have to spend every week for we see now a really successful team? Because when we run Activator, we also see a range of weekly commitment. How much do you guys spend on the work and connecting with mentors offline?
Yeah, I'd say for us, it was a significant commitment. But that was something that we talked about up front and knew that was going to be true for us. The way that my program was structured, I had classes 4 days a week and then 1 day for sort of your extracurricular endeavors, and this was certainly mine. And so between like the workshops and the meetings we were having outside of workshops, preparing for workshops, we met with our mentor quite regularly. Our mentor was wonderful. So if Jared is out there, thank you, Jared. We still chat to him, and he's very kind with his time. And so making sure that we were prepared for those meetings, all of that takes time. And then I also looked for as many opportunities as I could to use what I was learning actively to work on the company. So if I was writing papers and I could choose a topic, I would choose something relevant to our company. I actually, in my degree, had one course specifically focused on sort of the fundamentals of starting a company. And I was able to use our startup as the foundation for that course. So I looked for any and all opportunity to work on it more. So I think it depends on your commitment. And then of course, like my technical co-founders, this is what they do full time. So we were pretty focused on it.
Yeah, so the same as Zoe, we had a significant commitment. I would say that a minimum 2 hours plus the hours of workshops and plus the meetings with the advisors is like a minimum. And so I would say like 4 hours a week as a minimum for people that want to do good in the program. But if you want to do well, like, and actually take advantage of it, we did the same as always, to put as much time as possible. And it's also, so the program gives the opportunity to like explore entrepreneurship on one end, and for people that have like a more I don't know, focused commitment to actually take advantage and start building the startup. And we had great mentors as well as Steve and Rachel. And for example, we got like completely unexpected advice, like for example, take the smallest rounds you can because you don't want a broken investor cap. And I was like, what does that even mean at the point? So I was like, what is that? And then we started working more and more and more. So that doesn't come out if you put the minimum into your work. That type of advice that is like invaluable, I have to say. So then it depends on you guys, but it's for me, it is an interesting experience to explore entrepreneurship. But if you want to build a company from it, I would expect much more work.
Thanks for sharing that. I don't want to scare the applicants in the crowd, but this is, of course, the result is what you put in. But I think from my interview with all the 14 teams we hosted in New York before, generally people spend about at least 2 to 3 hours per week to at least figure out the questions for that workshop and prepping the pitch deck for the next time when they meet with the mentors. And maybe at the end of this, I want to ask Paloma and Zoe, how many times have you fixed or practiced your pitch by the end of the program? I would expect something above 50, maybe 30, 50 times. And this is showing the effort through the program. And I want to pass on to Steve. I think you're the perfect person to answer the NSF I-Corp question.
Oh, sure. Yes. So, yeah, somebody asked what the difference is between Activator and NSF I-Corp. You know, the Activator program, you know, the application is intense, yes, but you don't have to go through like a preliminary program in order to get to it. With NSF, it's National Science Foundation runs it. You have to do a regional NSF I-Corp program first, and then you can apply for the national program. And I think the grant is you get $50,000 upon acceptance to the national program. It's an 8-week, really super intensive cohort. Like I said, the daunting part is trying to do the 100 interviews, and you have to do those. You cannot do 80, 90, 99. You have to have 100 minimum to get through the program and finish. And it is intense. I mean, it's the first 2 days, the first week are 2 days straight, 8-hour days. Then it's a Wednesday or Thursday for half a day each week after that, and then the last week is 2 half days of, you know, finalized pitches and question and answer and, you know, awards and all that kind of stuff. So it is a very intense program. You know, it's on a little bit different level. I mean, there's more stipulations to it. There's more criteria you have to meet to get in there. But I think, in my personal opinion, I mean, the Activator does not pale in comparison at all. I think they're both excellent programs.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, we have a lot of people who participate in the Activator as well as I-Corp. And one of the main things that I think I've heard in discussions is that the I-Corp really drills down on the basics of doing customer discovery. And unfortunately, throughout our Activator program, we don't have enough time to really cover that part. And, you know, both Steve and Rachel have mentioned, whilst you're building your company or your technology, you're going to pivot a lot of the times, right? And being able to know what questions to ask and how to take into account those answers to build your products is really important. So I would recommend doing the NSF core program as well. But if you participate in the activator program, we're touching on all of the different components that come into play when you're starting a company, you know, from the technical aspect, you know, how are you de-risking that, to what is your actual business plan? Is there a market for this? How do you start to think about the fundraising? What is your regulatory strategy? And, you know, other different components of starting a company. I also want to share that for our activator program, we will be adding additional programming for business applicants as well. Some of the granular details on starting the company, you know, all of that stuff about registering was really overwhelming for, like you mentioned, Zoe. So we want to really provide that additional support for the different teams. And so I think the activator program is a lot more comprehensive. And again, you're meeting different experts for every single component of these things. So your network is just expanding almost exponentially, really. And you get to come to the summit that we would have, that we had one in San Diego recently. So that's a pretty cool opportunity as well. But, you know, Paloma also mentioned that they participated in a lot of different incubators. So as you're starting a company, you're not going to participate in one thing and it's a go. The network is boom, wide open. You're going to have to try different incubators, accelerators, go to several different conferences. You know, networking is the name of the game, and always like showing up, being prepared. I guess some of the final questions I had so that people can go on with the rest of their day was, for Zoe and Paloma, what was some of the biggest benefits of being part of the activator program, and how has Nucleate supported you? I mean, that's also feedback for us, support that you would want after finishing the activator, and what's next for your companies?
I'm happy to go quickly. I mean, yeah, I met my team, so I can't say that there's a bigger benefit than that, because I think they're marvelous. And I mentioned the Venture Prize, which has really helped us kickstart. And then I did actually go to the summit in San Diego this year as well, which is amazing. Great opportunity to meet other people working on problems similar to us, problems extremely different than us, but just continuing to sort of build a network of people working in biotech was invaluable. So I think that Nucleate is hopefully a community I look forward to continuing to be connected to, and I'm really excited for the eco teams that are going through this year and cheering them on. So yeah, it's been invaluable. And in terms of what's next for us, we're hitting the ground running. So it's time for us to do customer discovery, exactly what you were talking about. So if anyone here uses recombinant proteins, give me a call. And we'll be full-time, we'll be fundraising. We're really excited.
Great, Zoe. Yeah, for us, as I mentioned, well, beyond going through the program, that was great and helped us like build the company itself. The connection with Wilson Sonsini was great, so that built our patent, and that was really useful. Like the advisors and the mentors, like don't break your cap table or things like that. It was super great, and yeah, meeting everyone, like meeting people from the biotech network is great. I wish I could go to this summit in San Diego because yeah, I have like good friends there. And so what's next for Atacama? And we are fundraising as well, because we are on the verge of building a factory for our AI augmented material. Yeah, because we're getting like huge demand from the industry. We went through ICORS, so just recently during the summer, and so we got huge demand through some connections from ICORS. So yeah, so this is where we are, and thank you so much. And also excited with meeting the participants of the Eco Track as well. Thank you.
That's awesome. Steve and Rachel, do you have any last words for our participants about being a big part of the Nucleate community and the activator and beyond?
Rachel, I think it's your turn to go this time.
You know, I just can't wait for the next couple months when the activator teams form and we get to see who they are really around the world. It's been an exciting journey watching Nucleate grow over the last few years. And, you know, I'd say even for companies all over the world, you know, your mentors are looking at not just the companies even within their specific chapters, but it's exciting to see the companies that come out from all over the world. JLABS has partnered in the San Diego area, in the Texas ecosystem in Baltimore. We're looking at ways to engage in different ecosystems this year as well. We're at the summit every year. So I just can't wait to see who's coming in next.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day about, how do you look at, the next round? I said, it's like Christmas in the business world for me with Nucleate, because you get to meet all these new people, and it's all new technology, and it's the start of a whole new, experience for us as mentors and for the team. So I'm like Rachel, I'm excited to see what's coming up in the next couple of months.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me see one more. Is there one more question in the Q&A?
No, people are saying thank you.
Oh.
Everybody, yeah, I really.
Thank you so much, Steve, Zoe, Paloma, and Rachel. It's incredible that you guys continue to share your time and engage with the community. And thank you to the participants. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you with your applications, if you haven't sent one in already. And I guess small announcements is that the UK-US deadline is this Friday, October 27th. And yes, those are the main deadlines that are upcoming. All of the other updated deadlines are also on the application form on our website, and you will be getting invites to the team matching and semifinals events soon, and we will be ready to kick off the activator program. It's going to be an incredible experience, and we thank you guys for engaging with us. So everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining.
Can't wait to read everybody's applications.
Yes.